Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at ya from the local 218 studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux, and here with me is my brother.
Das Flutenduten.
Das.
German.
yeah, German. It's a good thing we're doing 1989 because there's a lot of German going on in here today. Das Flutenduten. Gabriel Johnson, how are you?
Great, Dave. How are you?
I'm super excited. Are you excited?
1989 is a banger.
1989 is a banger. So we're going to get started right away. This, of course, is the Be Kind Rewind 1989. Thank the Lord that we started off with 1988 because
it sucked.
yeah,
Going on.
we decided to do these Be Kind Rewinds, which are a look back on the year that was. And we started with 1988, and you guys said why, and I said I don't know. I just thought it'd be a good year to start with. Turns out, no, it was a terrible year. It was awful. But 1989, oh my God, I don't even know how we're gonna get through all this.
We're not.
No, I don't think we are.
Should we just list?
Just
for the next
naming
15
things.
minutes. Tiananmen Square, this Super Bowl, Game Boy.
I think
Just do that for
episode's
20
half
minutes.
over.
Yeah.
if we did that, this would be a half-hour episode just from listing. So, should we just get started?
Yes.
Okay, so the idea behind this, of course, is just we're looking back at the year that was 1989. Things that stuck out, things that we remember, a little bit of flashback of things from our lives, but also just in general. Like I think it's pretty cool to look back and see kind of the way that things stacked around each other. You know, like you wouldn't even think that half of these things happened the exact same year. So, Gabe, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, 1989.
Let's do it.
It was a year. I brought notes.
Yeah,
Taking notes from Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've clearly
What are we talking
taken
about?
after
What am
him.
talking
I don't
about?
know. What do you want to start with? What do you? I think let's start with music, right?
Let's start with music.
We talked about this last time that music is kind of that soundtrack to a certain specific time and era. So I think it's a good spot to start. Let's chat.
So the one I'm going to start with isn't necessarily a 1989 vibe,
Okay.
but it's one that I really like, and
Yep.
it was Tom Petty's debut solo album, not
Yep.
with the Heartbreakers,
Yeah.
Full Moon Fever, and it had Free Fallin', I Won't Back Down, and Running Down a Dream on that album.
Just right on the same album.
Boom,
It's unbelievable.
Three
Yeah.
bangers right there.
Running Down a Dream is Tom Petty's best song.
I would argue probably.
If I were to pick a Tom Petty song to play as a musician, it would definitely be that.
I have a thing for upbeat songs like that of those types of artists, and that's a phenomenal one. I actually greatly appreciate it. What would you say is his best song with the Heartbreakers?
Oh, you can't put me in a corner like that. I love me some Tom Petty. I can't pick.
I don't know. I think you're absolutely right about that. That's just a tough one. I personally, I don't mind some of the slower stuff that he has, but for me, it's Run Down a Dream. That's the best song overall. So
It's either that or You Don't Know.
sure.
Those are my top two for sure.
That's Alanis Morissette.
No, you don't know. That's a little bit of a downer, though. Huh?
Yeah, he's got quite a
don't know
few
how I feel,
downers.
man.
Move on from Tom Petty. You're trying to bring us down.
Okay,
This is
well, if we're
1989.
moving on from Tom Petty,
Okay.
we're going straight to the B-52s.
Hell
Love Shack,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Love Shack, Rock Lobster,
Oh.
Private Idaho. Bangers.
That's 1989 in a time capsule.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And part of it is it has a little bit of a 50s feel to it, a little bit of a sock hop sound to it, which is very much 1980s. You get that Billy Joel, checkerboard look to it.
Yep.
It's got that same feel. I think those are two phenomenal ones. Great job. I had a couple of them on my list. Tone Loc.
Both of his hits on his debut album.
Yeah.
You make it sound
Maybe
impressive. You make it
it's-
sound impressive on his debut album. both songs that everybody knows. After that, nothing.
Not
I
so
think
much.
he released more albums. I don't know.
yeah. Was it his debut album or was it his only album?
Funky Gold Mojito.
Which they're the same damn song.
They are.
They're so
Yeah.
much the same song. However, you gotta love it, and just again, soundtrack to an entire year right there.
Come on.
Gotta love the guy. He did have at least one more album that did not do very well. So,
Oh, yeah?
but then he, transferred himself into movies, and then came back in about mid '90s with Ace Ventura.
What else was he in? I know he was in Ace Ventura, but
Detective and All of the Wilds.
It's when nature calls.
yeah.
Which one of my favorite things about movies is just using them to quote specific things, and "Your balls are showing" is one of my all-time favorites. It's just "Your balls are showing."
Bumblebee tuna.
That is not 1989. But the other one I had, and I'm going to jump in on this real quick. I know it's all over the place, and I was going to wait to bring it up, but since we're talking music, 1989 was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Okay, and who do you get to celebrate the fall of the Berlin Wall? Well, the same year that this happened is the same year that Baywatch came out. You get yourself David Hasselhoff. You put him on top of a burned out car, which maybe it wasn't, but in my head, it's a burned out car. It's white. It's been on fire 4 times. It's still there. And he's singing his wonderful hit, "Looking for Freedom," which unbelievable.
I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so
Unbelievable. I looked that up, and it turns out that he it's a remake of a remake of a remake of a remake that is a hit in Germany. So you nailed it, David. You just nailed it. So got any other ones? Is that good for music, or we can move on?
I would like to add one more.
Okay, let's do it.
You mentioned the Billy Joel vibe. 1989 was "We Didn't Start the Fire,"
Oh, yeah.
which basically is 1989. There's just so much going on packed into one song.
Sure.
There's so much going on packed into 1 year here.
And it explains why he had to talk so fast. That's the same as "End of the World as We Know It." It's the same, literally the same vibe, the same song. It just and we know 2 words. Yeah, that's fantastic.
This says that although Hasselhoff agreed to sing at the New Year's special that year, he stipulated that he would only perform on the Berlin Wall, which he later admitted was a ridiculous request.
So I didn't even know it.
But they let him.
I didn't even know it was the New Year's celebration. Ringing in the New Year.
And he stipulated, I'll do it, but I'm only doing it if I get to be on the wall.
But how did he
All we can find is a burned out car.
how did he have enough clout to make that happen? He's David Hasselhoff.
He's David Hasselhoff.
That is true. That is true. I suppose, you forget Knight Rider. So he was already coming off being a huge star. So, man, that's great. I think we have set the tone, Lolk, for the entire year. Let's jump into sports super fast, because there's a lot from the sports side of things. And quick note about Scott. Scott sits down and says, "Oh, I decided to sit down last night and see what happened in 1989."
It was, hey, it's midnight. I'm supposed to look up things from 1989. I went to YouTube and just typed in 1989. And one of the first things that caught my eye was a full replay of the Super Bowl that played in 1989, the San Francisco 49ers versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
So how did that end at 3 this morning?
You can go through it pretty quick, I don't have to watch every replay and listen to the commentary.
Yeah.
Favorite thing about it was, one, it's a completely different game, almost in some aspects. Watching quarterbacks drop back to pass is hilarious
In the 80s.
because their feet are square straight ahead, and they just backpedal. And then
we only had 8-bit video games.
You can't be animating all that.
Yeah.
So, Joe, simplify it for us, please.
So that was funny, and then watching the kickers come onto the field. Those are tiny humans. Those people are so small. And the one guy comes on the field, and there's nobody around him, so I'm like, that guy looks kind of small. Yeah. And then they go, and here comes so-and-so, the smallest feet in the league. Wears size 5.5 shoes.
What's happening? It's just kicking with little
My 10-year-old.
little wrecking balls. Oh no! So it's just like, remember how in the 80s they had the shoulder pads on women's clothing, and the idea behind that was that if you made their shoulders look broad, it would make their waist look smaller.
Okay.
So are you just making tiny little people with tiny feet?
Yeah, I don't know. I laughed out loud while I was watching that, and then they were even making fun of him. They were like, "Oh, he's got to kick a 45-yard field goal." And they're like, "Oh, I don't know if he can do it with those tiny little feet." Not exactly what they said,
That's
but
the goddamn Super Bowl. Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
With tiny little feet, but that's something else right there.
Yeah, it was great. And after every kick, they have to cut away to the ref, like the head ref. I don't know why. It must be for TV reasons or something. But after every kick, they have to cut to the ref, who has to run to a spot and scurry out. Oh, the ref is also tiny. The ref in this game was the nerdiest looking guy.
This was before Ed Hockley.
Oh my God, nerdiest tiny little dude I've ever seen. And he has to run out to his little spot, and he's got this weird little smirk on his face, like he's just so happy to be there. And he just has to go, put his hands up, so they're good.
Instead of two dudes by the goalpost.
Nope.
You've got one dude that's going to run out and signal to everyone.
Yep. And every time there's a kick, they have to cut the camera to him for about 1.5 seconds so he can put his hands up. And then
it's good.
And then he puts his hands out to the side for like a timeout.
Yeah, timeout.
Good. Timeout. And he looks so happy to be doing it. He looks so happy. And he's just the nerdiest look. It looks like a tiny little my friend Pat Bevins out there.
That explains a lot about early football video games where they had to just cut to a picture of the ref.
Right, 100%. That's exactly what I thought. It was like straight out of Tecmo Bowl, which came out in 1989.
Oh, nice. Oh, there we go. That's a good segue there. Gabe, did you pull up any sports, or because I've got a couple?
I had nothing sports.
Okay. I just want to.
I did read the World Series stuff. Yeah,
Sure. Well, the one thing I was going to say about the World Series, which was in Oakland, I believe, correct? Oakland, San Francisco. Earthquake during the World Series, and the footage actually cuts out. You're watching the World Series, and what's going on, and then all of a sudden the footage cuts out because literally had to stop the game because the world is actually cracking.
Yeah, and
that's
it delayed
crazy.
the series for like 10 days.
Yeah,
really
get cleaned up.
Yeah. Well, they were getting kicked out of them anyways. It just prolonged that. But yeah, that's crazy.
It's like when the lights went out in the Super Bowl the other year.
Yeah. Only
just to make the game more interesting. Earthquake. We need 10 days.
This is going way too fast. This is supposed to be a 7-game series. But sticking with baseball, Ken Griffey Jr., his first year, and we've talked about sports cards on here before. If we're going to talk about 1989 and the card that ruined our childhoods because we all thought we were going to become millionaires.
We were rich.
We were all rich. Was the Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card. And a phenomenal story about that whole thing where Upper Deck just kept printing them. They were printing sheets of them. And they to themselves were just going $500, $500, $500, $500, $500, and then didn't think that, hey, this is probably not gonna last. I mean, for them, they're probably just
get the money now.
Get the money. Well, but at the same time, though, if that's your business, right? You got to remember that it wasn't just some dudes in an office.
Topps Corporation and the guys who run the printing press are not necessarily on the same page with everything.
No, and I suppose if you're the guy running the press, you're just like, hit it again. Hit it again. But yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah, the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card was $500 at one point and imploded an entire industry because you can't just keep printing something. But the other two things, Barry Sanders rookie year as well, so that's a huge one. But Pete Rose. So
all-time hits leader.
Pete Rose is, I believe, coaching at this point for the Reds, correct? And bets on games he is coaching.
But he didn't admit that till like 30 years later.
Till like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but that's what they banned him for betting on baseball.
Yep.
For life. You are banned, took away all of his awards. The all-time hit leader loses everything. But the thing that I found amazing about it was the commissioner that actually banned him died very quickly after this. And not only that, but his name was Paul Giamatti.
Whoa.
Yeah. Who is the father of...
Paul Giamatti?
Okay, hold on. The other dude's name is not Paul Giamatti. I just wrote down Paul Giamatti. I don't remember what the guy's name was. David Giamatti.
Commissioner Giamatti.
Commissioner Giamatti was Paul Giamatti's dad.
Okay.
And died very soon after.
We should get a movie made of the banning of Pete Rose where Paul Giamatti plays his dad and just has him brooding in his office. What should I do?
Somewhere I watched a thing. They said that in the movie Sideways, which is a wine movie, there's a picture of Paul and his father that was used for that, and it doesn't say that that's who it is, but it was Commissioner Giamatti. I just thought that was fascinating. So you ban a guy for betting, all-time greatest baseball player in some people's eyes, and you ban him for life, and then whoops, see you later. Oh, by the way, your son is also Paul Giamatti now. So, sports. That's what I got for you. There are two big ones left in my eyes. We've got movies and television, plus games as well. We'll get into games last, I think. Should we go movies or should we go television? Which one do you want to do?
Let's do film. I think television.
Yeah.
Let's get film out of the way. Television's going to take time.
I was blown away by television. I will say that. So stay tuned for television. Let's go
next week.
Let's go movies. You got a couple for movies?
The first one I'm gonna go with is Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Unbelievable.
Loved baseball as a kid. When we first watched Field of Dreams in my house, I grew up on 40 acres. We literally went out back and dug up and built a baseball field in our backyard because that's what you do after you watch Field of Dreams.
Yeah, we have it. We shall build it. Yeah, that's still exists. You got the backstop still there, don't you? Yeah. Field of Dreams is a weird one. I don't know if you could make that movie now, as a family film. I don't know. I don't think I could get
woke activists. Oh man.
I don't think I could get my littlest ones to watch that. So Field of Dreams came out in 1989. I would have been 7 years old. I don't know if my soon to be 5-year-old, I don't know if I can get him in 2 years to sit down and watch Field of Dreams. I don't think so.
No, movies were slower back then.
Yeah,
and they were a lot different, which segues into another one I have, which I did get my little one to watch a couple of years ago when he was 7, which is Uncle Buck, which is rated PG in 1989.
Of course it is.
80s PG is so great. Get ready to see some boobs.
The entire premise of the movie is the high school girl has a boyfriend who's trying to get her drunk and take advantage of her. The entire premise of the movie. And then the uncle comes in and tries to stop it by threatening to murder the kid. Don't show that to your 7-year-olds.
80s. Yeah, that's fantastic. What's really funny, you say that about PG. 89 is post PG-13. So PG-13 came around specifically because of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, 84, 85.
Yeah, because he did, it wasn't necessarily Raiders, it was Temple of Doom. Because Temple of Doom, pulling...
The heart.
Yeah, pulling the heart out of a dude's chest. It's we should maybe...
That's not PG.
Let's just bump that up a little bit. And then Gremlins was the other one too. Gremlins. I went back and watched that a handful of years ago with my kids. And my daughter left the room because there is a point where there is a blender on the counter.
Oh, yes.
Who the hell came up with that freaking torture device? Why do you just have a bowl with blades?
Yeah, no cover on it or nothing.
No.
It's like the sink.
And gigantic. This thing had it looked like you were starting a spaceship with how many buttons were on that thing. And it's just a glass bowl on top of the counter with blades spinning on the inside of it. Hey, perfect for putting Gremlins in. But we eventually figured out no, you just use that for margaritas. So we're going to put a cover on top of that. Yeah. But that's crazy that's Uncle Buck. Phenomenal, by the way.
I'm like, my kid will love this. He makes a gigantic pancake in it.
Yes.
But no, that's not the point of the movie.
That's crazy because we also said we may have to come back and revisit some of these years because in 88, the one thing I did not talk about enough was The Great Outdoors, which is 1988. I just watched that last weekend with my son and he loved it. So huge John Candy fan. That's great. I wouldn't have thought 89 for Uncle Buck.
No, I would have thought it was earlier, but I saw that. It's like, oh, it's 1989 PG?
That's fantastic. Got any other ones?
I've got a bunch. You got any?
Yeah, I'll go. Since we said Indiana Jones, I'm just going to throw out super fast. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was 89. I like that one quite a bit because I happen to really like what's his nuts,
Yes.
James Bond. What is his name? Why do I do this? The first James Bond. I absolutely know his name.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Sean Connery's birthday.
Sean Connery's birthday.
The big one I got to talk about myself is Major League.
Love me.
Oh my God, what a movie. What a flippin' movie. I just recently watched something on that, and the guy that wrote it, I can't remember if he directed it as well. I believe he did. But the guy that wrote it decided, I love the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians are never going to win the World Series, so I'm going to make a movie where the Cleveland Indians win the World Series. And then he thought to himself, well, no one's ever going to believe that, so we'll just make it a comedy. And so that was the entire, the whole way he got into it. But man, what a great film. Some of my all-time favorite lines, the just a bit outside, tried the corner and miss.
Yeah, Euchre was great.
Oh my God.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
So two things about the film. It was actually shot in Milwaukee. Which they couldn't film in Cleveland because the Browns were using it for preseason, I believe, using that stadium. So they had to film in Milwaukee.
Is that why they got Bob Euchre, or did they have him on?
No, supposedly they didn't know that he had been an announcer for Milwaukee. It was just a coincidence. They saw him on Mr. Belvedere, and then because he was big Miller Lite commercials as well.
Yeah.
So they just were like, oh, that guy's perfect. Well, yeah, Bob Euchre was the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. Which is funny when you're also then doing beer commercials for Miller Lite.
That's the beer of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it is the beer of Wisconsin. It is the beer of Wisconsin. But yeah, I found that fascinating. There's like, yeah, this is just my seat. This is where I normally sit
Comfortably.
Yeah, this is a really good spot. But that movie is phenomenal. I also really enjoy the guy that played the Pedro Serrano.
Serrano, yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy that can't hit the curveball.
Yeah.
The guy that can't hit the
Who
curveball.
eventually became the president in the TV show
In
24.
the TV show 24, yes. We'll get to that in 1999, I'm sure.
One
Also,
always stuck with me for some reason. I saw that guy in 24 and I was like, isn't that the... All right.
throw him a curveball. Throw that president a curveball. That's actually one of my favorite lines in the movie, and I always get it wrong. Is enough with the junk, Ricky. Throw him the eater. I fucking love it. But so they filmed that with 20 to 25,000 extras. So they actually filled that stadium with people. They would never do that now. 20 to 25,000 extras in the stadium for that last game. And the guy that plays Pedro, I should have looked up what his name is, but he said when they ran out onto the field, he was like, holy crap. And the guy they had there that was the supervisor for the baseball stuff said, yep, that's 162 games a year right there. Just that feeling. So translate that to, he actually was hitting the home runs that he hit in the movie. Yep. So that dude was pretty strong and was crushing home runs.
Dude was crushing major league home runs.
Yes. And not only that,
Not on curveballs.
not on curveballs.
Right.
Not only that, the scene where he, you Jobu, I'll do it myself.
That's my favorite line.
He supposed to hit a home run, crushes a home run. And then because there's so many fans, is so excited that he forgot to drop the bat. So in the movie, he carries the bat and it fits perfect. It seems like, he believes the bat is a person. So of course he didn't drop the bat. He hung onto the bat, but really it was just, he got so excited because the fans went nuts that he just ends up running around the bases with the baseball bat. That's one of the greatest stories of film right there. So got to talk about it. 1989, Major League. Major League 2 is okay. I've never seen the third one. Probably never will see the third one.
I didn't know there was a third one.
Yeah, there's like Back to the Minors or something like that. Something stupid. But yeah, 1989 Major League is phenomenal. So, all right, what else you got for movies?
What else do I have? I have, on a downer note for movies, Roger and Me from Michael Moore.
Hate Michael Moore.
But Michael Moore changed the film industry with Roger and Me, because it was a movie about the post-industrialization of Flint, Michigan, and GM moving all the jobs out. And he had the premise of the documentary in place before he started documenting. Where a lot of times documentaries in the past were like, let's film and see what's going on, and then kind of piece it together. After Michael Moore did that, documentaries nowadays are all, I have an idea. Let's talk about how terrible cows are. And pretend we're discovering it.
We had just happened across these cows that are horrible.
So it totally changed documentary filmmaking. Probably for the worse, but maybe for the better, because we get more documentaries.
So two parts to it. Yes, I believe. And I think they are more engaging then as well, because you're not piecing the storyline, but then they become less journalistic and more just production, which now you flash forward to all of our newspapers are dying because you keep presenting stuff that is just sensationalized, your own storyline that you went after instead of just being journalistic. And I think that goes right back to that. Like he that's part of the reason why I don't like him. Like he presents himself as though he's somehow just, I'm just following the story. No, you're not. You're kind of an asshole. So, but at the same time, he has covered some stuff that probably should be looked at.
And Roger and Me, Bowling for Columbine, he's done a lot of really good documentaries that are all worth watching, but they're all just slanted to his point 100%. Of view on it. And his point of view is right, like in Roger and Me, like, you GM, stop moving all the jobs out of America.
Yeah, maybe just take it easy on that part, I would also argue right about Bowling for Columbine as well.
Probably don't have kids killing kids.
Probably right about that as well. Good job.
Probably.
You had mentioned The Little Mermaid as well, so let's throw that out there.
Yeah, The Little Mermaid was, I forget, what was the movie Disney put out in like 84 before The Little Mermaid?
So the one that failed, and I don't remember if it was 84, but The Black Cauldron
there
was.
It is, The Black Cauldron. Early 80s, that was they were dedicated to being fully animated. We're going to draw every single scene. And then with The Little Mermaid, that switched. And they accepted a little computer animation. They accepted a little bit of cutting corners, as the animators would have called it. But it dawned a new era of Disney animation. And the movies from The Little Mermaid in 89 through everything they made in the 90s, even through today, just bangers.
Yeah, so and a lot of that was Jeffrey Katzenberg, who came over to Disney, and he came over during Black Cauldron and chopped it up, and it just kind of became a mess. That was Don Bluth was a key animator that then went and started his own thing. He did you remember a bunch of movies from him.
Yeah, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
That's the one I was going to mention.
1989.
Oh, there you go. So Don Bluth left and his started his own thing, which a lot of his don't get brought back up now, because you had like We're Back and Land Before Time, I believe, is him. And
I didn't know We're Back was him.
I think it is.
Makes sense.
It's his production company.
But they're held against The Lion King. And Aladdin, and The Little Mermaid.
And that's the difference, is one of the things they leaned into at The Little Mermaid was, we're going to make these songs again, which was a big Disney thing that they had kind of gotten away from. And huge. Jenny Katzenberg is a tiny little man that is very
an NFL kicker.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have small enough feet. I don't know. You got to have pinpoint feet for pinpoint accuracy. But I absolutely agree. That definitely changed things, because their animation was failing, and then Little Mermaid just set off that whole chain of events that dwindled at the end of it. But 3 in a row that were just gigantic hits. So. Good choice. I like that one. Scott, do you get a movie at all? But I mean, you had All Dogs Go to Heaven.
I had All Dogs Go to Heaven and Major League were on there. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids on there.
Gotta go. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
So great.
So great.
Do you think of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids every time you eat an oatmeal cream pie?
I do when I eat Cheerios.
Cheerios, I do.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just had Honey Nut Cheerios for the first time in a long time.
Very good.
Way better than they should be, because regular Cheerios are just, okay with sugar
They're
on them.
bland Honey Nut Cheerios.
The other thing I was surprised by, and I'm sure everyone knows this, but I like picked out the box and I was like, well, what nut are we going with here? And what nut I would assume you would know.
I don't.
Almond. They're almond flavored. I had no idea. I like had the box sit in front of me and I was like, well, wait a minute. You don't show any nuts on the. Yeah. Well, thankfully we're not showing nuts. Your balls are showing. Get that bee out of here. But anyways, I just flipped it over. I was like, I wonder what it is. Yeah, it's almond. Almond.
I'm
and honey.
surprised I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I would know.
Yeah, surprised you didn't know that.
Surprised you didn't know that.
But anyways, every time I eat Cheerios, or in this case, Honey Nut Cheerios, I think of the kid in the
Keep an eye
spoon.
out for the little kids.
Yeah. So our grandma had one of those giant satellite dishes. The one that took, I bet you
had to
probably
change
had
it
it to different galaxies. They called it different galaxies, and I'm gonna tell you what. By the time you got there, it was a different galaxy. It was like 3 minutes to move. So you'd have a grouping.
Hilarious being outside.
Yes.
Oh, Grandpa's changing the channel.
Can you even imagine?
I didn't, but my grandparents did. So we'd go to their house when we were kids, and then we'd be up late, and we'd change galaxies, and Grandma and Grandpa would wake up because it was right outside their window. Stop changing the galaxies. It's like, we're never going to get to softcore porn tonight, boys.
That was the best part of it. We were watching so much softcore porn at my grandma's because of that. But seriously, though, can you even imagine? I mean, it was the size of a Buick. These were not small dishes.
It was bigger than that.
You could park a Buick in one.
It was parked. It was parked. It was parked next to the RV.
Yes,
and it was only a little bit smaller than that RV.
So the way they worked was there's the big cylinder umbrella, right?
Sure.
And then there's the piece that sticks out and beams back at that. That thing that beamed back at the umbrella is the size of you.
Oh, yeah.
That's freaking crazy. The size of an NFL kicker in the 80s.
Yeah.
But so you would change the galaxy, and then you could flip through X amount of channels through within that galaxy. So if you wanted to watch, let's say you had 3 channels that you liked, maybe 2 of them were on the same galaxy, so you could flip between those very easily.
HBO and ESPN were not in the same
Yeah,
galaxy.
no, you were taking. I'm not kidding. It was 2 to 3 minutes. And it would just sit there, and it would actually show like all the channels as it was going through. It didn't like just go like now they would just do. Please wait, stand by. This was like, we are changing channels at an incredible rate. We are going to a different galaxy. But anyways, our grandparents had the Disney Channel, and so to bring it back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, they ran this whole long, promotional stuff leading up to that, and then they did all the behind the scenes stuff with it. That made me want to do film more than anything. That made me so excited to get into that type of stuff. Just watching how things were made, very cool, very cool. Good choice. So I've got one more, and we won't dwell on it too much, but it leads me into another category. 1989 was the year of Batman.
Yes.
Not anything other than Batman. And what a great film. What a great film.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Of all the toys that I had growing up, the one that I remember probably the most fondly was my 1989 Toy Biz Batmobile. That thing was freaking great. It was probably a foot long, black. Because first of all, it's the best Batmobile. It is the Batmobile.
Batman's battle against crime never ends, and now you can bring the action home.
Batman, gotta run to jail.
Each item sold separately from Toy Biz.
You were supposed to be able to put a figure in there. I don't even know if I ever did. but there was the stick shift on the center of it. You'd pull that back and 2 missiles would shoot out. And my God, that thing was great. But my favorite part of it, which is so pathetic and so chintzy, in the movie, he activates his, security device, and the whole thing that's covered in like a metal shell. And so they're like, oh, how are we going to do this for kids? And so they just made the cheapest, thinnest plastic cover you would put on top. You remember that plastic, that if you pick it up wrong, it just cracks? And that was the shell for it. And so you would spend most of your time trying not to break that. It's like, oh, we're going to put the armor on.
The invincible armor. Broken again.
Careful with the armor. But that toy still, I look back a couple years ago because I was like, I need to just buy one of those and put it on the shelf. And it goes for about $100 now. I still will buy one. I think of all the toys, that I freaking love that thing.
It's way cooler than a throwing star.
I don't know. Maybe Scott threw this in the woods too.
I might have.
My God. Should we stick with toys or should we go over to TV then? And we're right in the middle of them now. I kind of put us in the middle.
I have a couple games, couple video games.
Let's go with the games and video games, and let's end with the TV because I think TV is a banger.
Okay, so for games, I have one that was released in 1989 from Hasbro called Taboo.
Ooh.
And it's a game, if you don't remember it, where you tried to get somebody to guess a word where you couldn't use the word or 5 other words, which Hasbro later simplified into catchpasbro.
Okay.
Which longtime podcast listeners will know it's a legendary
Same buzzer
game.
noise as well.
Hasbro
Nice.
just perfected Taboo with catchphrase.
I never would have made the connection between those. I remember Taboo coming out and the adults playing it. Mm-hmm. You'd try to play, but you're not quite going to be able to. You're not going to get the nuances of a game like that.
No, we played it as kids, and I didn't get what we were doing.
That's a good one. I think, should we just jump into the big one of 1989, the Game Boy? I mean, if we're going to talk games, we're going to talk devices.
Yeah, revolutionized handheld gaming.
Unbelievable. So the Game Boy, now you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, it's a little black and white
Can't
screen.
even play this with the lights out.
No, you can't play with the lights out. We had, oh God, so we were so lucky. Our mom bought us all the accessories for it. So we had the thing where it turned into like a transformer. It had
the magnifying glass with the light,
Yes.
the bigger buttons,
Unbelievable.
the joystick.
The magnifying lens that came over top that also had a light hooked up to it, battery operated. So you'd shine the light on it with the magnifying lens because, of course, the screen's too small. How dare you get us such a small screen? These buttons will never work. We've got to have raised buttons. We've got to have raised buttons. Speakers, those speakers will never do. Please plug in more speakers to this. So we were decked out with that thing. But I think we were talking about this before we got started. Prior to that, for handhelds, you had the 2 options. You had the electronic football, which everybody had.
Great game.
That was literally just lines and dots and boops and beeps.
And fun as hell.
Somehow you were able to score touchdowns on a thing that did not do anything other than like show it one light. Then the light would, it was like a line that slowly moved across the screen. And then somehow, and I don't remember how, touchdown.
Yeah, I grew up with the Game Boy because I was 2 when it came out.
Yes.
So I would go back to try to play those things. Like I'd go to Grandma and Grandpa's house and I'd find one and be like, oh, see what this is all about. And it never fucking made sense to me at all. Like, I don't know what's happening.
It's kind of
There was like a baseball one where it's like, oh, all you got to do is I got 3 bases and home and a button. And I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea what's happening.
You time the pitch, you hit the ball.
And then there's a light that signifies whether or not it is or isn't baseball. Oh, shit, this one's football.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, those things were just fantastic how they were just accepted and everyone had them. I guess, it's kind of a cheap thing, but then they went from that to, and Nintendo kind of started with the Game & Watch, but they went to the Tiger handhelds, which were then you'd have phenomenal artwork on there because they would just take the artwork off of the game that you bought for Nintendo and slap that on. And then it was like playing a freaking Casio watch.
Yeah.
Like that was your little LCD screen could have a dude with, and you could see that, if I push the button, his leg's going to kick up. That's the game.
It's better than a stick, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than 2 lines, a dot, and a beep.
I don't know. Call me old school, but that's classic.
But 1989, that's when the Game Boy came out. And of course, you've got Tetris, which was huge. A handful of other games that came out at the same time. The one that I was surprised by, and we won't talk about too much, but Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle. We had that on NES at our aunt's house. And what a simple puzzle game where you just run around as Bugs Bunny trying not to get hit by other things. I found out that that game is known as many different things. The Crazy Castle part of it stays the same, but it started as a Mickey Mouse game. Okay. So in Japan, it's Mickey Mouse, and in other regions, they just kept swapping the characters out. So, but that's a really fun game that came out. Yeah, and in 1989 on the Game Boy. So, any other thoughts on? Yeah,
I've got 2 video games that we have to touch on from 1989. One, Minesweeper.
Oh, from 1989.
Minesweeper was debuted in 1989. The classic Microsoft Windows game that everybody's played. That's
I would say you could put that on a phone with an updated UI, and it would.
I'd play it.
I would play it. Yep. The premise doesn't get old. The look of it. It's 1989 Windows
with gray boxes,
and probably even at that point, probably just DOS or Windows 3.1 or something. Crazy though. All right,
and then maybe the greatest PC game of our childhood, SimCity. Debuted in 1989.
That's a good one.
Which did a lot to put us to where the hell we are right now, I think.
So Gabe is referencing the fact that he's a councilman. I am the mayor of our city. Gabe in charge of literally the funding for the city. You joke about that. It's 100% true. Yeah. We've actually made reference to the tax rate, which is a big part of SimCity.
You want the good stuff, but then they start getting angry. You got to get that rate down.
You got to get that tax rate down. We've got to reduce this tax rate. I find that fascinating because Sid Meier, the creator of SimCity, he made a game. It was a helicopter game, and I don't remember exactly what it was called. But in building the worlds for that, or the stages for that, he found that he was having more fun using the editor to make those stages, and that became SimCity. Then
he's like,
yeah,
maybe we should just build towns.
I'm having a really fun time building these towns with this editor, and that became SimCity. So my personal version of SimCity that I liked the most was the one on the Super Nintendo. I loved that. I go back and play that.
I love the music. The music
so
in
good.
that game. I will still every once in a while put on the title track when I'm just relaxing. This is nice.
Yeah. Talking about a soundtrack. No, that was 1991. So we'll get to that later.
Sure.
But it's that great pick there. Were you a big SimCity 2000 guy?
I tried to get into it. They just did too much. I just want it to be basic. Let me zone it.
Yep.
And throw a tornado and see what happens.
Every once in a while, have all my buildings start on fire, make me fix that, and then I'll continue. They started dealing with pipes, and I can tell you this right now, still don't like pipes.
Don't care about the
I'm
pipes.
doing pipes now. As a mayor, we're talking about how much and how expensive those are. Don't want to deal with them.
That's the one thing that I would always, without fail, cheat in that game. What's the weird way I got to get around so that everybody has water?
Yeah, I don't want.
I'm not putting pipes under every single thing.
I just don't want to have the airport next to somebody's house. That's all I want to deal with. Hey, airport's not next to the house. Shutters and clean water. I don't want to deal with that. You figure that out.
We want parks and schools in every neighborhood.
That's great. I think that pretty much covers games for us. So let's go to the last category, TV. Gabe, take it away.
TV. What do you want to start with?
Big
one?
So the
big one?
The shows that debuted was crazy. So you just go down whatever you got.
Well, let's start with a show that, let's say the show had a pilot on July 5th and didn't get picked up.
Well, let's hear this.
It was called Seinfeld. Later on, an executive said, well, maybe let's get 4 episodes.
Yep, yeah.
So season 1 of Seinfeld was 5 episodes long. It debuted on July 5th of 1989, but the other 4 episodes were in June of 1990.
Oh, I didn't know that. A whole
they-
year.
Oh, yeah, it did. They're like, no thanks on this Seinfeld show.
Well, and I will argue the first episode of Seinfeld is not very good.
No.
It's very bare bones. You know, it's like, I kind of see where this is going, but you haven't quite perfected that yet.
Yeah, the pilot episode was Seinfeld met a woman in Michigan who was coming to New York for a weekend and asked to stay at his apartment.
Yes.
And it was just him and George talking. Does she want to do it? Does she not want to do it?
That's all it is. Which is exactly what Seinfeld
That's
is.
the rest of the series. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of had the foundation built.
Yeah, that is a good one, and then went on to be the biggest thing in television. Going back to grandparents, we didn't have NBC because we were out in the boondoggles with them. We didn't have the satellite dish, so I didn't watch a lot of NBC except for like Saturday mornings when we go over and watch Saturday mornings over there. So I missed Seinfeld completely until maybe high school. Started watching the reruns, and now I love it, but the nostalgia part of it is not there for me.
Yeah, I love maybe the first 3, maybe 4 seasons. You watch the later seasons, and it's kind of just spun out of control.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still good. Don't get me wrong, but the first few seasons, it was.
Yeah, and it's a great show. It's one of those you can just turn on. I will say that the one thing I do miss from just television in general now is the syndication stuff where it's just 5 o'clock, dinner's getting made in the other room, and you just turn the TV on and whatever's on is on. So like Just Shoot Me was one that would come on all the time, or News Radio. Like these are shows that I never would have watched because I missed them. Seinfeld was a great example of it. Frasier. You watch it because it's on. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And Netflix kind of does that. They allow you to do the just pick something for me, but not like that. Not, hey, just at this time of night, just put something on my TV.
Not programming.
Yeah.
Not just like, this is what
so,
is on the wheel.
Yep. So every day, it's 5:30. Well, whatever. We know that it's on. Let's watch it. So yeah, that's a big one. What else you got?
What else do I have? Let's go. ABC debuted in 1989 a thing called TGIF.
Unbelievable.
It never existed, and it dominated Friday nights through the 90s.
How is it even possible? Like, I get it. It's family programming, but crazy that you're just like, yep, this is just Friday nights.
Yep.
This is what you're
it's
watching.
Friday. You're watching Full House.
You're watching Full House. The exact same show, only with more kids.
Well, it started with Full House.
Jackpot.
Family Matters, which debuted in 1989. Perfect Strangers.
Yep.
And Just the 10 of Us, which I don't remember.
No, I don't remember that at all. Well, it must not have made it. Perfect Strangers, huh? All right.
Cousin Balky.
All right. I don't think that's one you're going to be passing off to your kids. But, we'll go back and watch a rerun at Nick at Night or something. I loved Family Matters. I was a big Family Matters guy.
Yep.
Big Family Matters guy. Loved it. Carl Winslow. Can't
Steve
go wrong.
Urkel's little 3-wheeled car.
Yep.
Every day.
What a great show. What a great show. The one that I never got into was Step by Step. Although I loved that it started off with the roller coaster. Ooh, what a good way to start a show. Yeah, we're going.
Get excited. Like, this is going to be a ride.
And it's like, and what a great way to introduce your characters, too. It's like, here we go. We're all getting on this ride. And then you just show all their faces. Then they're getting on the ride. And then it slowly climbs. And it's like, oh, we're building toward it. And oh, God. We are step by step in here.
Dream got broken, seemed like all was lost. What would be the future? Could you pay
At the same time, though.
That's all I remember.
That's all I remember. That's what I was just going to say. Like, and then after that, shut it off. Is it Saturday yet? Let's move on to the next one. I would put that way below Family Matters and Full House as well. So we could stop talking about John Stamos, though. I have now officially milked the John Stamos. I have milked John Stamos more than I want to.
Dry.
I'm going to throw a couple out there. Do you mind if I jump in? So, Saved by the Bell. Huge.
Speaking of Saturday mornings. And that was one that we'd have to go to Grandma's to watch.
I don't know if that was the Miss Bliss. And I don't want to get into that nonsense where it started off as a Miss Bliss, which was not very good. And then they're like, hey, you know what? Let's focus on the kid that's kind of a jerk. Let's go with Zach Morris. That's the show right there. What a great show. You can't say enough about Saved by the Bell. And then, man, I didn't know, but now I do. American Gladiators.
Yes.
Oh my
Gladiators
gosh.
ready.
Contestants ready. I didn't know that at some point in that show, the referees were executioners. I just found that out yesterday.
What?
Yeah, at some point they had the referees dressed up as executioners. It must have been early on in the show because I don't remember that at all. They scrubbed that from the lexicon, from the minds of the American Gladiator fans. So the thing I found interesting about that, went back and looked at it a little bit, was there were initially 6 gladiators. They had tryouts to see if you got on, and they were super packed with people trying to get onto this show. But when they initially had the idea to make it, Fox was going to pick them up and they were going to run it, but Fox wanted it to be scripted like WWF, WWE. And the guys running it were like, no, I think we've got something a little bit.
You've got a lightning in a bottle.
We got
here.
lightning in a bottle here. We're not going to
Lightning is a gladiator.
We need to see these roided up freaks destroying tiny regular people.
What a
Can't script that.
What a great
I want to
premise.
see these guys get their kicked in.
I want to see dudes with tennis balls. You can't script where the tennis ball's going. Anyways, moving on from that, sticking right with that same theme, we talked about Baywatch, so that's there as well. And then the other one I had for the debuts was The Simpsons. Got to throw it out there too.
Yeah, well, Simpsons Christmas special.
Yep. I'm not a huge Simpsons fan, never have been. Our parents would not let us watch Simpsons.
We weren't allowed to watch it.
Literally not allowed to watch The Simpsons.
If I was at our cousin's house and The Simpsons was on when parents came to pick me up, we were in trouble.
My parents didn't know that animated television shows
could be crass.
Inappropriate until Family Guy came out.
All right.
Until you were an adult.
So we can watch South Park, Simpsons. But then my younger siblings are watching Family Guy and no more cartoons.
That's great. True story. Eventually got TV in my bedroom at our parents' house. I was probably like 10 years old. And after school, again, it was the reruns that would be on. And The Simpsons were on. And I'm sneaking up there watching it. And here comes my mom. She opens the door. And sure as Mr. Burns is naked. Yeah, it's like the only time he's been naked ever that I've ever seen on this show. And my God, did she flip out. Just absolutely flipped out. So that's the only thing I know of The Simpsons is one time Mr. Burns was naked and my mom found out. So
you need to watch The Simpsons.
I hear that. I've tried. But the problem is like, where do you start?
Season 4.
Okay.
Season 4. Don't bother going past season 12.
Okay.
Even before that, it starts to dip pretty hard.
Okay.
But 4 to like 8
Okay.
is some of the best TV that has ever been created.
I'll give it a shot because I don't dislike it. It has never done anything for me.
So check out the seasons Conan O'Brien was a writer.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Because I've tried going back to the beginning because I love to do that. I love watching shows from the beginning and like watching them build. And it's always uncomfortable, but I like bad movies. I kind of like that. I like the process. I couldn't do it. With The Simpsons, the early Simpsons is not good. I don't care who you are. It's not
I don't
good.
think I've ever watched anything before season 3.
So like the first episode in season 1, I think Homer loses all of his money at the dog track and gets Santa's little helper, gets booted out because he lost the race or whatever.
Yep.
And then Homer brings Santa's little helper home as that's the Christmas present for
Hooray!
the family. Hey, hooray. Your dad's a loser, lost all the money at the track, and now you have a loser race dog as a pet.
Forever, too.
Forever.
Yeah, we'll just keep reincarnating it, essentially. Yeah, crazy. I know a lot of people love The Simpsons. I know that I didn't dislike the movie. It was okay, But
it's completely different.
It is.
Yeah, that's not The Simpsons.
It's a whole different era of The Simpsons.
Yeah, I've tried. I've definitely tried, and I've heard people say that to me before that you got to go into like this specific realm of it.
When these people were writing for it and making this kind of humor, it's
all right.
Some of it cannot be beat.
I'm going to test it out. I'm going to go for it. So that if that's season 4, that would be around 93, maybe 94, maybe depending on if there was any break in there at all. I'll check it out. We'll see what's going on. Okay.
There was no break. Simpsons is a curse upon the human race. There are no breaks.
It's the same shit over and over and over again. I don't get it.
We could spend an entire episode talking about The Simpsons.
Yeah, let's not do that. Sorry, everybody.
So another one that debuted in 1989 that I had to go over to my grandparents' house to watch on HBO, Tales from the Crypt.
Ooh.
Which was, as far as I'm concerned, just a phenomenal horror show. As a child, I thought it was scary as hell, but not like, I didn't like the slashers, like the Friday the 13th and that kind of stuff that was coming out in that era.
Never been into that
but
either.
Tales from the Crypt, excellent.
Yeah, I as an adult went back and really started to like the first Nightmare on Elm Street's a really good movie. The first Friday the 13th is a really good movie. But I was the same way. I was kind of a skittish little guy, overly protected. Couldn't see animated wiener, very overly protected. But so I felt the same way. There is one, and I believe it's Tales from the Crypt, but there were other versions that were kind of the same thing. There was one where somebody has lost their hair or is losing the hair, so they go and get like a hair transplant from a thing, and it ends up being like creatures. The hair are like creatures, and nope. See you later. That's enough for me. Shut her off.
Yeah, no, it's that stuff's great.
So did they like dumb that down for television, or because it was on like late night regular TV?
Oh, did it get syndicated?
It had to have been. It was on something because I watched it on something like late night as well. Maybe it was just
like
HBO. I don't know.
Sci-Fi Channel or something.
Could be.
Because
Yeah.
I caught it a couple of times at my friend who grew up to be a chiropractor.
Oh no, thumb grabber? We don't talk about that. Sorry if you're listening.
Yeah, I got to watch that and Mystery Science Theater and South Park. I watched way more South Park as a kid than I did of The Simpsons. Which I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons, but the parents didn't know what South Park was.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that it? Is that the last one?
One final one that is just a personal favorite growing up was Coach.
Oh,
debuted in 1989, and that's just a great small college in Minnesota State. Screaming Eagles.
Let's end on Coach because let's talk about it for a little bit. Growing up in Minnesota, you had a little soft spot for it, but what a great show. Mm-hmm. What a great show. And what a weird premise. What a weird premise for a show.
A college football coach, they should have another show like that.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know.
He's a struggling program, and as the season's built, he makes up and goes to the bowl game.
Yeah, but they didn't actually show football at all. It was just him in his cabin.
No, just the locker room, his office, basically. His office and his cabin.
Tell me that's not weird.
That's a little weird.
I got an idea for a show. We're not going to show you those tiny feet kickers.
It's about football with no football.
It's football, but it's just the other part of football.
Yeah. All the stuff you don't want to watch.
But yet somehow, phenomenal show. Yeah. Phenomenal show. And with a Minnesota twist to it. I can't believe that was 1989. That's a great way to end it off because that's the stuff I love is that you just don't remember because that show probably ran for a good 5 seasons, maybe 6, 7
into the
yeah, I would say just and great little opening ditty to that one as well.
The marching band.
Yeah. It's just you want to talk about getting ready for a show. Like
get the band to pump you up.
Here we go. Oh, now we're in the locker room. Game's over.
We missed the game.
I'd like to. I want to go. We should go through and get a comparison of how many of those episodes start with the game finishing, and how many of them end with them going into the game.
Starting the game. Here we go. Wait, why are you stopping?
Oh, the game's done. Yeah. Start. Oh, the game's starting. Stop. Yeah, I think that's a great spot to stop. What is his name? I forget what his name is.
Craig T. Nelson.
There you go, Craig T. Nelson. Yeah, phenomenal. And then went on to, do Incredibles and other incredible things. All right, let's. Any last words on 1989? Did a full hour.
But that was a long one.
Yeah.
I noticed that the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh no.
Debuted. It says
in 1989.
That's what it says.
Yep,
Man,
I saw that.
Man, and then and that's the best version of all the Mario shows.
Yeah, they tried a Super Mario one.
They did Mario 3, then they did
Right,
Super
the Mario 3 is the one that I wanted to like the most, just because it had all the little Koopa kids or whatever.
Yeah, but you got to have the cheesy Lou Albano?
Captain Lou Albano.
There you go.
And that's when the new Mario movie trailer came out, and everybody was throwing hissy fits about Chris Pratt's Mario. I'm like, Captain Lou Albano is my fucking Mario. How are you guys throwing him? He doesn't sound anything like Mario. Have you seen the Super Mario Brothers Super Show?
Have you seen the Super Show?
Yeah, come on. And they had an awesome rap to start it.
Well, speaking of which, did you see that they just released the second trailer for the Mario movie?
And it uses that rap for their plumbing company commercial.
However, and now we're going way long here. However, at the end of the commercial, it gives a number to text or call, and I didn't try that. But then it says like smbplumbers.com. And I thought you had said at one point, Conan had said, if you
put that out, you can't put out a fake website.
Yep,
Like, there's some legality to it. So on Conan, he had made a joke about, go check this out at hornymanatee.com. Well, then the FCC came at him and was like, hey, you can't. That has to be a thing.
It has to be a thing.
For some reason, I don't know exactly about it, but so Conan had to go on and buy hornymanatee.com. He literally, Conan O'Brien, owned hornymanatee.com. And so with the Mario thing, that may need to be legally a thing.
Now,
we should quick buy it, so they have to buy it from us.
Now, granted, I'm dyslexic, so who knows if I typed it right. I probably put in MBS Plumbings. But I checked it, and it didn't go anywhere. So we'll see what the story is with that. But yeah, there you go. Great. Coach into Super Mario Bros. Super Show episode of Gabe Johnson thing.
Thank you.
And with that, we're done.
His other is a 7. He just wants to pack it in there, and this certainly within his range will be a 34-yarder. Now, this would be a big kick for that small foot.